Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, in this episode, throwing oxygen sensors. Had on my Innovate LC2, the controller threw an error code number 8. That error states that the oxygen sensor gets too hot. When it throws that error code number 8, then it also turns off the heater on the oxygen sensor. And when that happens, it actually destroys the oxygen sensor when the heater gets turned off. Okay, so the factory bungs, you can see here, are only what, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so, and the ones that come with Innovate are an inch. You can see how much difference that is. So what they want is for the oxygen sensor to just barely protrude into the exhaust pipe. And so with the factory one, it's going way on in the exhaust pipe to the tune of something like that. I called and talked to the guy at Innovate, and he said that's why my oxygen sensor went bad. And they also want you to install the O2 sensors 24 inches downstream of your collector. And so if I measure correctly, that's here and here. And they also want you to install it from a 3 o'clock position to a 9 o'clock position. So they don't want it down here anywhere. And what they're saying is if it's down below the halfway point, then the moisture can get in the end of the oxygen sensor and touch what they call the heater and actually make it go bad. I thought about mounting it going to the inside, and I guess I could do that. I just don't want to be in the way of the transmission in any way. I don't know, I may come to the inside with it. I need to get the specs of the TKX transmission and make sure that's not going to be in the way. First oxygen sensor to go bad with the Innovate system. Some people are saying, you know, switch to the Zeitronix controllers, and I think it's the same actual sensor, the wideband sensor, but the controller is from Zeitronix. So I'm going to try first to go ahead and relocate these oxygen sensors, replace this one bad sensor, and then continue on with my current controllers and see what happens. And if it continues to throw sensors, then I'm going to switch to that Zeitronix system. And they're saying you got to call up at Pro-Am and get them to or send them your config file for your car, and he'll go ahead and enable the Zeitronix system and make it to work. Let's get started. We're going to drill a hole in the pipe, get this new bung welded up, and then we'll go ahead and install the oxygen sensor and get a new one here, of course, a replacement for this one, and then fire it up and see what happens. But as of right now, the car runs really crappy because this sensor is pretty much toast. I'll definitely recalibrate both sensors and then put it back together and see if it runs. Think I have an exhaust leak now? Alright guys, I believe that's got it sealed up. So our bungs are in place. Our new oxygen sensors will go here. And I really hope that when I put the TKX transmission in, it doesn't interfere with them. If it does, I guess I'll be buying new bungs and blocking off these holes and moving them somewhere else, which would be a pain in the rear end. But it is what it is, right? There you go. It's not quite 24 inches back. It's about 4 inches shy. There's 24 inches. I don't think that's going to make that big a difference. Got to get me some plugs to plug these holes, and then we'll get this new sensor calibrated. So this is the old one here. I got a new one in the box. Get the new one calibrated. We'll pull the old one, recalibrate it on this side, and then hopefully the car runs again. Get you a closer look at the welds there. Not my prettiest work, but sealed all the way around, as you can see. There's my little O2 plug that I made on the lathe to cap the factory O2 sensor bungs. One there and one there. I didn't even put a hex on it. I just tightened it with some channel locks. It's more of just a temporary thing here. So let's talk about Innovate system here. So after installing these new bungs and this new O2 sensor, I literally went around the block. The very next day that I cranked the car up, this sensor went bad again. So I boxed the LC2 up. I sent it back to Innovate. They said that they're going to go through it and see, you know, if it's got some problems or whatever, test it, send it back. But in the meantime, I went ahead and emailed Chris Richards and asked him to update my config file for the Zeitronix system. And I went ahead and placed an order for the Zeitronix system, and I'm just going to switch to that because everyone online says, you know, that's the way to go. So whenever Innovate sends back the LC2 or whatever they send back, I'm just going to put that stuff on eBay, you know, and just sell it, get rid of it, move it on with my life. I don't have time to mess with that crap. I mean, that's the whole reason I bought the Pro-M system, so I wouldn't have to deal with little piddly stuff and constant tuning and whatnot. I just want to install something and just drive the car and enjoy it. We're going to get that Innovate stuff boxed up, put it on eBay, and sell it. And I'll put the link in the description of this video in case someone is interested in purchasing it. But as far as I know, the DLG1 gauge controller is working just fine, because this is the original O2 sensor that came with that, and it's still working just fine. And this is my replacement that I bought from Advance, and literally one trip around the block, and it's showing error codes already. So I believe it's the LC2 that was killing O2 sensors. But hopefully Innovate will fix that or update it or whatever needs to be done. Send me a new one, whatever. So I'll put up a full video on the Zeitronix install, because that just doesn't seem to exist on YouTube. I've looked for it and no one has done a good video series on it. So I'll try to do a decent video series on the Zeitronix system. All right, guys, thanks for watching.